Okay, it's going. Finally. And welcome back to another episode of Keeping It Real in the Film World Story Time with Sweet Tea as I'm rebranding this into that. I'm sitting here with another one I met off someone I just met on a young app called Clubhouse. We met and we're actually gonna be starting hosting a room together, and they're doing this same thing. He has a podcast doing where he talks with people collecting stories, and I'm here kind of doing the same thing. I started out with just filmmakers, and I opened up to anyone who's creating and telling a story because filmmakers are storytellers, but they're not. We're not limited to just filmmakers being storytellers. If you're living, if you're breathing, and you are a storyteller, you have a story to tell. Even if it's just you just have the one story, it's your life story. And the host of Tea with Mike podcast, you can find them where anywhere pretty much podcasts can be found, right?
Yeah, correct. First, thanks for having me. Anchor, Spotify, Apple, yeah, all the usual place for podcasts, and then at tewithmike.com, and then social media, just Tea with Mike. Yep.
Great to be here, and we connected in that clubhouse, and like again, I saw that it connected, and like we gotta like do this. We gotta talk, and he got so many things, and there's some updates recently too, but he's gotten so much reach with his podcasts and show, and he's a good listen to talk to. He sits down with you, do the whole tea thing. So like I
Absolutely. I brought some tea here today, like every single.
I I meant to do that, but I was walking my dog, and I had to do a few other things, and forgot that. But I do have some water, so I have something. It's not the same, but like the first when we first connected, I thought I saw, and then I realized you're are you from the UK? Because I thought that's where you were really originally. Then I realized your location.
Yeah, for sure. So a bit of the backstory. Originally, I'm 25. Originally from the UK. I'm now living in Canada. So lived in England for 17 years, and then moved to Canada, and that's kind of where I am now. And yeah, it's been a great journey so far. But I'm sure we'll get into some of it as we go through this conversation today.
Great, good stuff, and let's get into one few questions I like to always start out asking. And what are you excited about today, Mike Johnson? What are you excited about?
Ooh, so I guess in this very moment, I'm excited to connect with you, as you mentioned, to the people watching this that are tuning in. We first connected on Clubhouse. So when I'm looking at who I want to follow on social media apps and even use social media apps like Clubhouse, I'm looking through their bio or the information that they give me to see what their interests are, whether that's personally or professionally. What drew me to your bio was the fact that you call yourself a storyteller, and as you were kind of alluding to, kind of a little early on, like if you are alive and you're a person on the planet, everybody has a story to tell, and storytelling, at least in my opinion, is probably like the most powerful and impactful thing that we possess on in the world. And there are lots of different ways to tell your story. You mentioned that you're a kind of you're a filmmaker, and in that video video profession. That's just like one way to tell your story. If you have a voice, you have a story, then it's kind of up to you how much of your story you want to share, now what I guess platforms and tools that you can use to kind of tell your story. So I love storytelling because it's how the planet and the world first started, through our ancestors. It's how knowledge was passed from generation to generation before things like the scribe and the manuscripts were introduced. And so even as we sit here today in a very media and technology dominated world, I think we also need to keep alive our roots and to keep telling stories, whether that's digitally because of the current world circumstances, and hopefully moving forward kind of more like live and in person. We just really need to strike that balance between the two, because there's lots of great things about all of them, and if you put them together correctly, you can do some exciting things.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to get into both of our stories, as I'm calling this story time, but I was going with that earlier a few months back, 6 months ago, and I was calling it coffee chats or something, kind of like the tea thing.
Right.
But your gimmick, like, I don't know if you want to call it a gimmick or whatever, but what you do, the tea with Mike, and you sit down with the actual mug filled with tea, brilliant. Because show it again. Bring up your mug. See what it does here. Look
Oh,
at that.
yeah.
Your Tea with
Oh.
Mike brand right there, and I'm perfectly okay with what's kind of going into the background, but
Yeah. That's called magic
but
live. Yeah.
it's a brilliant way to get your brand on screen like that, and just for a moment you can put it away, and every time you take a drink, oh, Tea with Mike. Brilliant way to. So yeah, we're definitely gonna get into my story, and I've been working on my pitch as I go into the clubhouse. I need to get back on, and we will later today. We can kind of plug and talk about that too. We'll be hosting that room with stories as well, but I want to get into your story first. What led you to the Tea with Mike show?
Great question. It's a very interesting story that is made up of many different components, like all good stories, and these different circumstances come from, I guess, my life perspective and experience. So growing up in school, I've always loved people. Kind of some of my favorite subjects when I was in school was anything creative. It was kind of like, but specifically to do with theater and drama. Don't ask me to hold a paintbrush or sing you a song, because neither of those are gonna quite hit the right rhythm and notes. But yeah, so I always loved theater and just the creative environment, the different people. That was where I felt the most kind of comfortable in. I also liked English and English literature, so like Shakespeare and even English, because there was a lot of like public speaking that you had to do, and that type of thing. And so there was that, and then I always took part in like this the school productions, the school shows each year. I was been in Sound of Music and Oliver Twist and Little Shop of Horrors, and then done some like technical work, kind of behind the scenes. I joined my local like theater group, basically back when I was living close to a town called Richmond, North Yorkshire. What was really cool about this town was there was a lot of history, right? There was a lot of abbeys nearby where the monks used to live, and there was a famous castle called the Richmond Castle in its old original like form, and they also had Georgian theatre again in its original form. So we're going back like hundreds and hundreds of years from the 21st century. And what was cool about that was it was in its original format with chandeliers and a wooden stage and Shakespearean boxes and like basically wooden seating. So it was very much in its, as I keep iterating, its original form. And for me, culturally, and also because I like theater, there was nothing more magical than walking up the creaky stairs that are like this wide, and you can hear through the curtain the audience talking because it was that small, and waiting for the show to begin. And this is a really monumental moment because it's a few moments that connects with everything that I'm about, but also a very small percentage of people are ever going to experience that specific moment that I experienced. And so there was that. And then left England when I was 17, moved to Canada, finished up school here, and then I started. Was like, I don't really know what I want to do after school. Um, the only thing that I really ultimately liked, I guess I like computers and coding on websites a little bit. So there's a part of me that wishes I kept learning about coding and programming, but that's not the path I chose. And then, so I took theatre and entertainment production at my local college, at Red Deer College, here in Red Deer, Alberta. So I took that for 2 years, just learning about stage management, lighting, all of the things that go into putting on a production. Did like lighting for musicals and lots of cool things. And so I did that, and then I worked professionally for a couple of years in the industry, everything from fringe shows to teaching high school kids theater, to live events, to audiovisual companies. And so while I was doing that, I was also working at a box office, selling tickets to events, and I also did quite a bit of security work in the live entertainment industry and also in retail. So the reason why I tell you all of that is because these are all jobs that are very people forward facing, and I've always loved people and getting to learn about different people and connecting with people, no matter their background. So there was that, and then I was a bit of a crossroads. Like I was enjoying it, but I wasn't enjoying it. So I went back to school again, and I took media studies and professional communication. This was 2018 to 2019. So learning all about marketing, public relations, communication, all of those things, which we'll probably get to again a little later. Communication is probably is so critical now, as where a lot of us are separated by restrictions and that type of thing. So I was doing that course, and I was like probably just at the beginning of the second year, I think it was. I'm like, I still don't know what I want to do, and this is a bit worrying in the sense that I've invested a lot of money into going back to school, and I'm like, is this really going to pay off? Am I going to be stuck working a job that I don't really enjoy for 30 years? But in our social media class, I think it was, we had a guest speaker, a local entrepreneur called Jonathan Strom, who I've had on the Tea with Mike show. And whatever it was about this particular class, it was like a Thursday afternoon at like 3:30 to 5:30, when you should be like really tired, like winding down for the day and the weekend. But for some reason, I was like captivated by this class, and maybe it was the bio or the occupation of the person coming in. Maybe that fascinated me too. So I went away and I prepared a bunch of like questions, and one of the questions that I asked him was, who should I be following basically in the digital space, like online? And he said a few different people. And one of the people that he said was Gary Vaynerchuk. So take that piece of information. In my own time, I'm learning about who Gary Vee is, starting to consume some of his content. Then roughly at the same time period in a communications class, we got kind of asked to do a project, and this was a class where it was all about citing your sources, and there was only probably about 12 books that were suitable for like all the different things you were writing about. And this was a very like to the point class where you've got to cite everything in. It was a lot of work, but there was a project near the end where there was a little bit more flexibility, and I'm like, I am definitely not writing another essay again or another research paper or all of those types of things. And so it's in the scope of the project, it said one of the things you could do, I can't remember the exact project, but it was an example it gave was you can interview people. Okay, so one, you've got all my people forward for, jobs. Two, you've got kind of the social media class with the entrepreneur. Three, you've got this communications class where I'm like, well, I like to talk, so why don't I interview people? And then the fourth part was I was working at a box office selling tickets to an event, and these two 6-year-olds roughly came up to the window and they were like, I thought they were like, oh, what's the event? Or can't find my parents, or where's the bathroom, the washroom, that type of thing. But can you guess what they asked me?
Taking a swing at it. I don't know. What do you like to do?
Yeah, good attempt. I mean, it was actually what is the Wi-Fi password? And I was like, what a strange question. I mean, like when I've been working across all my different jobs, of course I've had lots of strange questions, but for some reason, a bit like this social media class, this one seemed to hit me on like a different level, a different like note. And this really got me thinking. So I'm carrying on through my shift and in future shifts, and I'm telling my coworkers about this experience that I had with these two young children. And so basically, all of what I just described in a bit of a ramble over the last 5 minutes, so all kind of from different angles, different experiences, perspectives, circumstances, all kind of mixed together to formulate the start of the Tea with Mike show.
A great story. A couple things came arise there. See if I can remember all the things. I should one day just open up my notepad and just jot down when it comes to mind, so I can come back and it's all happening here, and I'm still learning. I'm still, but like when something comes up, jot it down, write it down, so when you get to another question, you have them ready to go. But
I see. Just to interject quick, so that was kind of what happened on like the Tea with Mike show. So I just told you that story, but if I hadn't written all these like random ideas down onto a piece of paper, I may never have arrived at the moment, which in this case was the Tea with Mike show, and we wouldn't. And it's funny how it works. We wouldn't be sitting here today telling stories and promoting a good conversation if I hadn't written those things down. So it's really funny how the world works.
indeed, and so and all of that, what you said in there, I actually see a difference in me. Like you like to talk, and growing up when I was young, I did not like to talk, and maybe give a little secret, but I actually like it now. I'm doing this for fun. Like if my 10-year-old self ever heard like came to me up to me, looked down at him and saw this, probably like he'd he'd freak out, my 10-year-old self. But
Good for you, man.
uh and I was when I was young, again, not talking, I was technical, always showing. People came to me all through the when I got to college too. Like I was in a studio, TV studio, mass communications program, and I would be in there. No one else was in there. I would be all there alone, playing with all the toys in there, learning, and then all of a sudden I became the go-to guy. Like, what's this going on here? I don't know. Ask Thomas. He knows. That became the thing, and even today, certain aspects where I work, like I'm I'm the guy to go to about certain things for my work, and I just made it that thing. And that's kind of where the idea and Clubhouse and some other things helped me discover that about me. Like I was doing that, like come up with some courses or something like that. And but I'm working on my and brand pitch. Clubhouse has helped me that every time I have to come in and get on stage and there and start talking, I'm working and pitching and I go, well, you said it actually for me when we opened up this conversation too. Like I think you took it right from my bio too. I helping people in the digital world, and there's 8 billion people on this earth with a story to tell, and I'm here to not only help you tell that story, but teach you how you can do it using these tools. And I just came up with that on the spot just now, that last part. Not
Very good, man.
only
That was good.
so it's always getting better. Let's see, you like it's all about you and as the guest right now on this episode. Social media, like what? How are you using all these things right now to just have fun, enjoy? I know it's a conversation, you like talking to people, but using all these things together. That by the way, like one thing I wanted to add too, and just reading and seeing the theater and the live entertainment. That was my secret. Like that, I didn't like speech. I took a drama class once in high school, once in college, but somehow I went to media communications, mass communications, and I declared myself a behind the camera guy, and now look at me.
I
But
love it.
putting all these things together with the community and networking and just talking to people with podcasts and social media, like how do you put them all together in a way that you have fun doing it, it and how do you just have fun doing it?
Yeah, for good question. And so, obviously, as I sort of touched on earlier, there's many different platforms and mediums for you to tell your story, and there's many different options. But I think I continue, I guess, to keep having fun and wanting to do more of the Tea with Mike show and collaborations and to keep storytelling alive. And I live for kind of the moments like, so I've had guests, for example, they don't mind me talking about this loosely because we're good friends now. But so I've had guests on the show that have, for example, talked about like near death experiences on basically how they tried to end it all, but for whatever reason, circumstances dictated that that was not the moment. Everything was kind of going to come to the end, and for whatever reason, they managed to kind of turn it back from the like basically the end, and they managed to like pivot and turn it around. And now, fast forwarding even a couple of years, they're now kind of helping others to overcome their struggles. And I think some of the best people to help other people overcome their struggles are people that have lived it and experienced it themselves, because they can really resonate with the other person. So, and in that moment, with this particular guest, I felt goosebumps, and I felt the emotion of the story as they were telling it. And as I again touched on earlier, to me that is why we tell stories, right? Whether they're good, whether they're bad, whether they have a lesson that we can learn from it. that is the best part of about storytelling. And every time I'm impacted by every single guest that's ever been on the Tea with Max show, every single collaboration that I've ever done, I've always I've either been impacted, I've either learned something new, or most times a combination of those different things. And then when I get social media messages from people that resonated with this particular guest story, and then they open up about their own story, and there's nothing kind of more rewarding than that, both on a personal level, because I'm learning lots about myself and how to improve every day as a person, and some of these stories also teach me how lucky I am, and what a fortunate position I am in compared to some of the stories that I've heard. So it really helps ground me. It's good for talking about the personal level. It's also good for my mental health, I guess, because I'm always talking to people, especially with the pandemic. It's been, and I'm an extrovert by trades, as I love people. So it's really been an outlet for me to keep talking to people despite us being apart. So in that example, technology and digital has really helped that. Even though earlier I said we need to kind of get the whole balance of storytelling and media and technology. And then on the other side is impacting others who, in the example that I just described. So lots of kind of wins on a personal and then also impacting others. And that's what keeps it fun and impactful. And that's why I want to keep doing it.
Yeah, and it's such a great thing when I started the three well, in 2017, maybe 3.5 years now. That started it, I lost my train of thought. What- it's to now. I was starting with a kind of a rigged contraption using microphone, USB microphone, going into this. Still kind of use that, but it's more as like a handheld switcher now. And I started out my first ever episode, which I go back and listen to it. I cut it up. I want to start like sharing the bits and pieces of that out. So I cut it up. I'm going back to listen to that. Man, I was bad at conversating. I'm noticing that, and I'm getting better. I'm noticing the improvements I had. I can't wait till I get to this one episode where I really start to break out as a better conversator. But it is a great thing that we can get here on Zoom. I had two other people I talked with over in Dublin, Ireland, and another one I haven't got to yet. We might have actually ran into him in Clubhouse as well. Mike Armstrong, he's great over there on Clubhouse too.
Yeah, a couple of times I dropped by his room a couple of times because he has his room open like 24/7 and he jumps between a different bunch of people for sure.
It's an intriguing room. If you're ever on Clubhouse, that we're mentioning this a lot, but if you're ever on that Clubhouse app, you see this room. It's a very intriguing room. Screw the big rooms on Clubhouse, and it's that room, and people it intrigues people when you see it. So if you're ever on there, hop over on there. Hop over if you see real stories. That's probably us. Plan on hosting room multiple times. Schedule some of those rooms out. If you see that, that's us. That's real stories. Come share your story, hear some stories, and grab a cup of tea with that. But yeah, it's again going back to what I was saying, but it's just a great thing. Like we have Zoom, we have the virtual way we do things. That's how I started. When it's all said and done, I'll probably start opening up to go in person too. I've been wanting to, but I've been doing this for the whole time, and still looking for my first. I saw a few people do it at actually local in my city here, to living in the Dallas area right now from Houston, but I always like to add that in. But I saw a few in-person interviews going on. He was making sure they're keeping distance or whatever. But
Right.
I did see that happening. That's the whole point of that. I like to get it in there somewhere in here about being grateful. What are you grateful for?
Definitely good health, right? Like without good health, you can't achieve your goals and aspirations and dreams. So definitely my health, and definitely the health of the people closest to me. Touch wood. Yeah, so everything's been going well so far, despite my family being like all the way around the world, and obviously with COVID and stuff. And then also having good friends that have really been focused on over the last year and a half, really consolidating like friendships and the people that I actually want to spend time with. Uh, Growing up, that was one of the like biggest things I kind of struggled with. Was even because, like I said, I'm an extrovert and I have ADHD, and I'm very energetic and out there. I wanted to get to know everybody, but as you learn later in life, there are definitely pros and cons to knowing everybody, and not everybody necessarily wants to know you. So there's definitely some lessons I've learned along the way. So really, I'm grateful for the closer relationships that I built amongst my friends. Yeah, so those are probably the big ones, and then more broadly, I focused this year on eating more healthy and doing more exercises, and also spending a little bit of time away from technology and to try and keep a kind of a healthy, balanced lifestyle, so I can keep doing what I love. So those would be a few things. What about you?
Yo, yeah, one things that they said that you should follow Gary Vaynerchuk. Well, one story, and I'll save a lot of this for when I if you invite me one day, and I'll definitely have I might get a mug or something with I have a little bit of tea I can be drinking, but one day I'll save a lot of this. But just a brief story right now for like and what says it's very specific and let's go back. Sorry, what was the last thing you mentioned again?
Oh, just about maintaining like healthy lifestyle, like spending time away from the computer, making
Oh
sure we
yeah,
exercise and eat healthily. Those
digital
types of things.
detox. The one thing I push this one thing at least once a week that I like to actually push. If you ever go, we're live on my YouTube channel now. If you ever look at one of my clips, it's all about doing the digital detox. It's once a week. I need to. I'm due for one. I'm due for a day. Just go out without your phone. I say that, but I'll include because I like to listen to podcasts in the car. If you don't have your phone, you can't listen to that. But I like to actually bring in my tablet into the car. It's not connected to the internet, so it's kind of the same, but I can download everything I
Hmm.
want to listen to on there and I can listen to it that way and I'm not connected. So digital detox is a important thing to go like you were suggested to you to follow Gary Vaynerchuk, like I was starting to say earlier. I got into listening to Lewis Howes, who actually introduced me to the Gary V's and all those other Brendan Burchard, all those other people. He introduced me to a whole lot of other people. I'm sure, and Gary Vee, he has his podcast. He does that same thing too, and his thing, and he has this one story, Lewis Howes, the School of Greatness podcast, which was officially my first podcast I started listening to. That's when I got into podcasting. And he did this thing one day. He took a trip without his phone. And you want to like to find something hard these days. And I know we did it 10, 20 years ago, but take a trip without your phone, you'll quickly like learn how to go back to before the days when we didn't have the phone. It'll all that will come back. You're gonna have to stop and ask for directions. You're gonna have to talk to people, which is no problem for you, but maybe for me, where I'm still getting comfortable with the whole just starting like an in-person conversation. It's still awkward for me when I'm starting that.
I want to interject here, because you mentioned it a couple of times now. I was going to bring it up the first time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think storytelling and facilitating conversations is something that you it's something that you're always working to get better at. If you look at the first X amount of Tea with Mike episodes, like I tried to like do it, like improvise on the spot and to come up with questions for the guest, and I thought I was good at improvisation. Turns out I'm terrible at improvisation, at least in that context. And so then I got feedback, and what I had to do was I had to kind of change how I did it. So now I whether rightly, wrongly, whether it's too much, whether it can be distracting, which it can be at times, I now have a whole bunch of notes that I kind of cycle through to help me stay on track. So I think it's something you always get better at and more comfortable with, because everybody's different, right? Some people are going to give you very short, concise, and precise answers. So you need to have developed questions to help dive a little deeper to help get across to the audience the reason why you're having this good conversation. What is the important part about their story? But then on the flip side, there's some people that could talk for hours about one little thing, but you as the host know that they're missing out on 60% of their story, which in your opinion is the really interesting bit. So it's really, firstly, like you get better the more you do it, and then B, it's also like finding that kind of balance between different types of guests and people.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that. And as I want to start to kind of wrap up here, I want to get into achievements and then maybe advice for someone like me. You gave me a bit of advice for connecting, but first, when was your question? What specific question? When was your 100th episode? When did you record that?
Episode 100 of the Tea with Mike show aired on December the 5th, 2020, with
nice.
With brand director for Gary Vaynerchuk, Andy Krainak.
Oh, was that the 100th episode where you where you appeared on?
No, so Andy was on the Tea with Mike show.
Okay. So let's get to that too. Impacting, you said this, impacting people through podcasts around the world, but you made an appearance on Tea with Gary V.
Correct.
You have this out there on your socials and you have an episode, but just take a minute. Like, what was that? Was one question you asked him? I think I remember hearing.
Yeah, sure. So the question that I asked him was basically how to scale and grow my podcast. So now I'm at 109 episodes, but back when I did that in April 2020. So I guess we're coming up nearly for a year now. And the biggest advice that I would share with your audience and everyone that's tuning in, whether live or watching later, is he really stressed the importance of collaboration, and yeah, he just expressed the importance of collaboration and finding those people that have similar interests with you to collaborate with. So that was one of the reasons why I wanted to open dialogue and communication and see if we could collaborate with you, because like I mentioned, I saw you on Clubhouse and you wrote storytelling in your bio, and so that was what attracted me to exploring this particular collaboration. So it's all about collaboration, and also some of the these more promotional things, but like treating everyone that follows you like a king or queen, right? And making sure you spend the time to build those relationships and sending them DMs and responding to comments, all the types of things that you just see from so many different people around the world. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that too. Like go back to Clubhouse, I was in a room. I think the room was like all about how to be a good moderator. I
Yes.
don't know if you saw that. Maybe I followed you into that room too. And there it said like they're one things they do. They introduce they're reading their bio first. They're opening the bio up, and they're acting as if this person is like done things, like many things already. Like who knows, they're gonna do it one day, but they've already done it. And you, like you said, treating them like a king, or it's like, hey, this person is here, and like they'll be all energetic and happy, which I need to work on a lot of more, bringing my energy too. This person, Mike Johnson, is incredible. He's reaching out to so many people. He's helping people tell their stories, getting their story out. Please welcome to the stage now the one, the only Mike Johnson, and you just make them feel that.
Yeah, for sure.
Bring the energy, and then it's gonna flow into when that person speaks too.
I think it's more. First, it depends on the type of room, right? So, like there were some rooms where, like a room that I moderated the other day, where I already know like a good percentage of the audience, because if they've already heard someone introduce me, or we're already collaborating in lots of different ways. So I think in some of those rooms where the majority of people already know each other, you don't need to focus as much on introducing yourselves as moderators. So like in the room the other day, we definitely got everyone to do like 30-second introductions. But the reason why we did 30 seconds versus maybe like reading everything in their bio was because most people already have a basic understanding of who the people are in the room. So I think it depends on the room. And then I think it's more important just to make them feel welcome in the room, and give a little context, and like you said, bring the energy out. So I think those are the reasons why it's a good thing to introduce people. Like, there's a respectful way to like introduce people. Maybe the king, and you're just making them feel welcome, basically. Like, but there's also going over the board. So it's kind of, because you don't sometimes you don't know anything about this person. So you also don't want to make it sound like you guys are best friends that go to Starbucks 3 times a week. It's that happy meat balance, right?
Yeah, and when I was saying like maybe not do that all the time, but it's for that first impression. I know there's new people coming in the room, but if the same people start showing up and get the feel for the room, then maybe for that one new person in there, hey, this person here, and
Absolutely.
then it changes up a little bit.
Yeah, so really, you kind of sometimes you just a bit like storytelling. You have to go with the flow, right? If you see that the next person coming up is new to Clubhouse, of course you're going to probably start with "Welcome to Clubhouse." Like, how's your experience going so far? Something really basic. But if the person coming up next has got 20,000 followers, not that that really matters, but that indicates to me that they spend quite a bit of time on Clubhouse. So So then that changes the types of questions that you may ask of them, based around the big topic or more general conversation.
Definitely. So I want to and lead into like advice from you since you got to reach out on your podcast, and I'll ask, and then I'll get go into three final wrap up questions for this episode, and we'll have hopefully many more times we'll come on and we'll have more conversations in the future too. But when I first started and I developed like I'd go online on using the internet, find questions and jot down questions and put it down my notepad list. Before I hosted an episode, I'd have these list of questions that I just read off of. I hope it's coming across that way, but I don't have that anymore. I don't have the list of questions. I have the document that you filled out for me with a little information about you, and that's it. And I'm going off of that, and it's pretty much you helped out quite a bit because you gave some nice long-winded answers. So you helped me out there quite a bit too. So and helping each other out again. So in that spirit of helping out and maybe advice, maybe something you notice that I've been doing or not doing, advice for me or anyone else in my situation to help get a little more reach on the show, on their show, my show, whoever's.
Sure, I think. What do I think? Well, first I'll start with like it. Like I'm not an expert. I always just talk from like what has worked for me. But I
Like, what do
think
you do? Yeah, what do you do?
yeah. So that's why I'm just giving you context to my answer, and so I think the biggest one for me is just getting into the habit of posting like content every single day, and I guess developing like content strategies and systems that help you achieve that goal of putting out content every single day in the least amount of time possible. Now people often talk about quantity versus quality, right? And whilst quality is important, it can also, in my opinion, be your biggest undoing. It is better to put out five not perfect pieces of content and be in front of people than spending like days and weeks and months trying to create that one piece of content. And I think that's the reason why, too, with Micah has got to where it is today. It's not because it's perfect by any stretch of the imagination, far from it. And if you're comparing often someone's one video to what some of the stuff I put out there, theirs is 100 times better. But the reason why people remember me more is because I'm in front of their like face all the time, right? So it's trying to find that balance between quality and quantity. I would probably, without pigeonholing myself, I would probably say I touch slightly more on like getting it out in a big machine faster than making it a Grammy award-winning piece. So I would say the reason why I've got to where I am is it's just because I'm putting it out there, every single day, and I've just been consistent. Right? So I think number one, that's really important, consistency. What else? I think I've got to where I am so far. Number two is going back to what I was talking about earlier, is because I care about every single person that follows me. The amount of hours I spend sending direct messages, commenting, reaching out to others for collaboration is what's got me to where I am. And the more collaborations you do, the bigger your audience grows naturally. It can be a little slow at times, but like it grows organically because now you're interacting with a whole different types of audience. It's more it's more effective to do 50 collaborations So if you did 50 collaborations, you're potentially reaching 50 times your audience retrospectively, right? Like, because you're reaching all these whoever you're collaborating with's audience, right? What else would I recommend? I would recommend. Have you seen the new Instagram feature where you can go live with multiple people?
I have heard about that, and I want to try that, but I figured that would be a good, like, you see all these platforms, like others specifically copying others to not
Yeah, it's got quite a bit of that going
into
on
this,
recently.
but yeah, Instagram with the 4 Live, that's
I love it. Like there's been so many times where I've been having a great conversation with someone, and someone else I know has come into the chat and they're adding like fire to the conversation. I would have died for that feature on like so many occasions because now I could have had a three-way like conversation, and I've joked about it and I've talked about it with different guests that I've had in the past, and we've had someone kind of like sassing us that we know in the chat. I'm like, oh, I would have loved to have just like got everybody on the same screen. But so I'm really excited because now you can have potentially up to 4 times the audience, right? You can have Joe Blogg's audience, you can have Thomas's audience, you can have Mike's audience, you can have Gary's audience. So I think that is it's a really powerful tools. So I'm excited to start using it a little bit more, And also then you can. It's also it can also save you time, right? If you can work out a time that you. So let's say there's 3 people that you want to collaborate with, and they share similar interests. So let's say it's storytelling, and you can get all these people together at the same time and go live for like 1 hour. Now you've just collaborated with 3 people inside 1 hour, which could lead to other things depending on what you're trying to work towards, versus having to waste 3 hours to talk to each of them individually. And you may come up with something amazing just because this person has this skill, this person has this skill, this person knows this person, and you could even end up doing business together or collaboration. So I think it's really exciting.
it. I want to, like, maybe we'll do that. We're using talk Clubhouse. We talked a little Instagram just now, and Twitter with the spaces. I still haven't seen, I guess they roll out in pieces. I still haven't seen it on my. They called Twitter Spaces,
Yeah,
and
I don't have it
it's
yet. So
Clubhouse audio. I saw one person's room, and I jumped in it, and it's like, oh, it's Clubhouse on Twitter.
yeah, basically that is what it is. But so what I'm saying is like one, definitely the DMs and stuff, and the comments, all those things that everybody tells you. To it, to, two is collaborating with as many different people as possible to reach as many different audiences as possible. 3 is jumping on and giving these new features a go as soon as you possibly can. Obviously, some features are going to be like better for you depending on what you're doing than others. So, for example, for me, I'm going to be spending working into my week, or every 2 weeks, I'm going to be spending time getting multiple people together on Instagram Live. I'm going to be in Clubhouse because it's good for podcast guests and potentially people that need help with the different projects they're working from a professional standpoint. But I just gave those examples. But like, for example, I'm not going to spend much time on TikTok, right? For example, because TikTok doesn't really fit for the most part what I'm like trying to do. Well, I could spend hours and hours making it work. It would be more effective use of my limited time to be on Clubhouse, to be on Instagram with 4 different people, like, and I'm hosting, so everyone can see I'm the main host, and also probably Twitter Spaces when it comes out. I'm going to get a lot more value and ROI, return on investment, using things that work for me versus whilst I am on TikTok, the only reason why I'm on it is because I work with like a content creator in Magic and that stuff. So I follow him to see what he's doing because I just work with him, right? So that's the only reason why I'm really on TikTok. And then I push his stuff once in a while, But yeah, I hope that sort of answers your question.
Oh, definitely. Like all these different things you get on, especially when they're brand new, and they'll be rewarding you in some way. My
Yeah,
thing
but
at being
potentially. Yeah.
being the video editor I am, Instagram Reels. I like Instagram out of all these, like, not so I'm still haven't figured out the TikTok, but Instagram Reels and a whole story things. And I like IGTV. I kind of want to like just start putting up videos like I'm doing clips on YouTube, put up the short clips on Instagram TV. Just
Do it,
saying.
man. That's a great idea, especially if you like video editing. So, like,
Mhm.
I don't waste much time in Reels because, like, I'm not the greatest video editor. You know, I go for basic edits and just keep pumping it out. I would rather you rather spend an hour to create editing a video to put on the Reels or in different short clips, whereas I'd rather spend an hour going live and building relationships. So it just really
Mhm.
depends what you're trying to do and where your strengths are, right?
Yeah, definitely. We should definitely invite me onto there. At least I'll be happy to go live on there. Just it'll be my first time too. All right, get into like these wrap up questions. I like to, now these I I do have prepared these final questions that I wrote down. The first one is kind of a backstory on this series question. It started out Lewis Howes at the end of his podcast. I was doing this at first, and my first guess is like, you're not stealing, you're paying homage. That's what he told me, Jordan Brady. You're paying homage. So I used his three truths question. You write down three truths if just your last day on earth and you had to everything had to go with you. Take all your content, all your books, or whatever you did. It goes with you, and you had to go take it with wherever you're going to the next place you're going. Last day on Earth in the life. Hypothetical question, and you just give them pen and paper, blank sheet of paper with a pen. Write down three things you know to be true about life. And I was asking this for a while, and if you want to answer that too, but like be my guest. But I turned that into more of a ending to your story, kind of taking on the whole storytelling thing and creating, predicting, whatever you want to call it, predicting the end of same kind of concept. And this is what I'm going to ask you now. It's your last day. You are where you exactly want to be, where you envision, where you're seeing yourself. You are there doing whatever you're doing. What have you done? Where are you? What brought you? Where is that place? Where do you see yourself? Where are you right now? If you can predict your last day before you hypothetically go to the next place.
Wow, that was a deep question. I gotta think about this. Problem. All right. First off, I don't want to put a number necessarily on it because it's not all about numbers. First off, I just want to have impacted as many people as possible around the world to not necessarily to be comfortable in telling their story. No, they've over time, I don't know, through watching the Tea with Mike show and other people that share the similar values and mission and like yourself, for example, they've seen that nobody's perfect, and no matter no matter what stage we are at life, whether you've just lost your job or you've just won $1 million. I used to use it, but it just doesn't sit comfortably. So now I talk because it sounds like we're non-existent. So I like to use just the word people. Say? Yeah. So basically, people have. What was I saying? I've lost my train of thought here.
The main thing is like where, if it's your last day on Earth, where do you see that being? Where are you? Where are you living? Like if you wanted to live,
Yep.
where are
Okay,
you?
I got you now. So impact basically impacted as many people as possible. Um, Being the inspiration, the encouragement, along with other people that are doing similar things like yourself to me, and for them, those people to not necessarily develop self confidence, but feel comfortable enough to step forward to tell their story and hopefully once they've found that place, then they in their lives and their community spread the message and the importance of storytelling, collaboration, and community. So if I pump some more of that in the world as a very small piece of the world, I would be very happy. Number two, I would love one day to I guess have my own tea shop. It would sell probably some of my favorite teas, and hopefully it wouldn't be there for necessarily a business and a monetary standpoint, but more of a kind of a legacy and a symbolic piece. You know, like how people visit their Harry Potter studios, but it would be like it might not even be called the Tea with Mike's story. It might be called like um I don't know. I have no idea what the name would be, but like maybe something along the lines of storytelling and stuff like some symbol to recognize the importance of storytelling, and it could be a place where people from all over the world visit to tell stories to strangers basically. So I think something along that concept would be super cool. And then also this is more professionally on the, I guess, the marketing, the social media, and all that side. Just help as many people as possible achieve their dreams, kind of by getting started and providing that encouragement. I know a lot of talented people across my network and also through people I meet daily that have so many ideas. They just don't know how to get started, and so whether I can give them that extra, not the cake, but that extra word of encouragement, or give them an hour of my time to help them do whatever they may want to achieve. Yeah, so some of those types of things is kind of the quote legacy that I would like to leave on the earth. So strange talking about the end and the legacy when I'm only like 25. So I hope it's not for a long time, but it's a good question, and it really does. It really helps reconnect you with where you're trying to go with all this, because sometimes you're so focused on the day and the moment that you sometimes forget to look at A, how far you've come, and B, where you'd like to take it, so you can keep moving forward. Right? Good question.
Why it decided to turn it into that? As I asked that because it's all about vision, creating the vision, seeing the vision, and I want to acknowledge you for putting that vision out there on keeping it real story time with Sweet Tea and Tea with Mike.
It's a
But
bit
I
of a
acknowledge
mouthful
you
today,
for
you know.
acknowledging you for putting that vision out there. And you mentioned story time. And next question I like to wrap up with, and second of the three final questions. What is the important? You mentioned it, and you probably said a little bit here and there throughout the episode. But what is the importance of movies, filmmaking, storytelling? Why is it so important to have these?
Absolutely. Number one, it brings, regardless of the medium, or yeah, regardless of the medium or the project or the concept. Number one, it brings people together. It brings people together from all different walks of life. Whether you're 25 years old, whether you're 82, like everybody has stories and skills and experiences that they can bring to the table. So there's that. Well, repeat the question. Sorry.
The importance. Why is it so important to have filmmaking, storytelling?
Sure. Okay. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay, yeah. So to bring people together and to, I guess, create growth in communities across the world and creative spaces for people to kind of create great things. It's also we can all use our individual skills and the things that make us unique. So for me, that's like facilitating conversations and talking to people. And then we can bring it together, for example, with someone like you who loves to do this type of thing too, but you also love video editing and all of those types of things. And so if we take all of our individual skills and experiences and perspectives and then mix them all together into the big pot, then we create exciting we just create exciting things, and we're definitely stronger as a collective versus the individual 99 times out of 100. So that's probably how I'd answer the question, both of those things. And just think about how boring the world would be if everybody was almost robotic and we were all the same. And yeah, it just wouldn't be any fun. And we're only here for a short time. So we also, at the same time, as well as all the other restrictions in life and responsibilities, we also need to have fun, because I think a lot of people lose the ability to have fun also the older that they get. And I don't see anything wrong with someone that's 50, like having a bunch of fun and cracking up with laughter and just having a good time, because that's what we're here to do, have a good time. And I think some people misplace having fun sometimes. Of course, there's balance, there's boundaries with respect to others and backgrounds and all those different things. But I think some people mix fun with like immaturity. Like, let's say somewhere I just like break out laughing in the middle of the supermarket. Like, I'm just having a good time. Like, maybe it wasn't. Obviously, yeah, there's boundaries, but maybe I'm just having fun. It doesn't mean I'm stupid, immature, and all of those things. I'm just living a happy version of my life. And I think some people get weighed down sometimes by the day to day that they forget to have fun.
For asked final question, I just wanted to where do you like to hang out the most? Social, or what website do you like the best, or in your socials? How can people find you?
I can. Uh, I spend a little bit too much time probably on technology sometimes, but you can find me on Facebook, Tea with Mike, Twitter, Tea with Mike, Instagram, Tea with Mike, at Clubhouse, Tea with Mike, and also at my website at teawithmike.com. So if you Google Tea with Mike, basically, you'll find me, and I will typically answer you pretty quickly. Yeah, so those are some of the ways you can connect with me.
Final question. What is creating or creation mean to you?
Say that once more.
What does it mean to create? What is creating, and like anything?
Okay.
What does it mean to you?
What does it mean to create? That's a really good question. Again, I think creation to me personally is a way of expressing myself and all of the best bits that make up Michael Johnson. I think sometimes we can get weighed down by looking at other people who are deemed to have been successful or are doing cool things. And whilst that's cool and it's important to celebrate others' achievements, you also have to remember that everybody has something to kind of give to the world, and whether that's small, whether that's big, it's all impactful and it all means something, right? You don't have to impact millions, but if you can impact 50 people in your local community, that's still just as impactful in the life that you're living and stuff. So I think people forget that everybody has a role to play, and everyone can impact. And it doesn't have to be. You don't have to make a Hollywood documentary, right? You can help your neighbor, or pre-pandemic, and hopefully post-pandemic, you can help your neighbor with their shopping, or they got an emergency. You can watch their kids, for example, last minute, and just those little things that can really take a little bit of stress out of other people's lives. All of those types of things create impact. So impact can be done in creative manners through social media and different mediums that we've kind of talked about today. But you can also have impact on others, like physically in person and face to face, that a lot of people won't see because it's often just you and that other person, or a few people, but it's still just as meaningful. Yeah. So if that sort of answers the question.
Yeah, it's something. I'm butchering the quote. I know it's a quote on it somehow, but if something about making people feel, and I'm totally missing it right now, but it's all about how you make the people feel, and to be less like that robot we were talking about earlier.
That's perfectly. I think you summed it up perfectly. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter like how that looked. It's exactly what you said, right?
T-Wood Mike, everybody. Mike Johnson. Look forward to more future talks, and thank you for coming on here today. And yeah, look forward to more conversations down the line.
Thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate your time and the opportunity. Thank you.